Welcome to Engineering Mechanics video lecture. Through this video lecture, I am trying to explain you about force systems. The group of forces or force system is simply a term used to denote a group of forces which are acting on a single plane or multiple planes. The force systems can be classified into the following types. Number 1, collinear and non-collinear force system. Number 2, coplanar and non-coplanar force system. Number 3, concurrent and non-concurrent force system. Considering a force of magnitude F which is acting from a point of application to rightward direction from A to B, when you draw line of action of this force F, we can get exactly looks like in this fashion. Along the same line of action of F force, when we introduce some more number of forces along the same line of action of force or a red line, the force of magnitude F1 we have introduced on the same line of action of force, and also we have introduced another magnitude of force F2 on the same line of action of force. Another magnitude of force F3 also introduced on the same line of action of force. F4 is also introduced on the same line of action of force. All these forces F1, F2, F, F3 and F4 acting along the same line of action of force. So these forces are called as collinear forces. As these forces acting along a single line of action of a force are called as collinear forces. All these collinear forces are related to single plane which are acting along a single line of action of a force. So these group of forces are called as coplanar collinear force system. On observing this diagrammatic representation, we can understand that some group of forces which are acting on a single plane of different magnitude P1, P2, P3, R1, R2, Q1, Q2, S1, S2. For each and every force which is acting on the single plane has a different line of action of force. As this group of forces which are not acting along a single line of action of a force considered as non-collinear forces or coplanar non-collinear force system. Using this solid model, I am trying to explain you about further force systems. This solid model looks like cuboid or prism. In this solid model, all the planes are perpendicular to each other, which are colored with different colors. The plane which is parallel to horizontal ground considered as white. The planes perpendicular to horizontal ground considered as yellow and pink. On these different planes, we have to consider different magnitude of forces. If some group of forces which are acting at a particular point, either they are converging or diverging in nature, the type of force is called as concurrent forces. These are all the forces of magnitude W1, W2, W3, W4, W5 and W6 converging at a particular point. So this group of forces is considered as concurrent force system. As these all the forces acting on a single plane, these forces considered as coplanar concurrent force system. As these forces of magnitude Wi to W7, W10, W11 and W9 which are diverging from a particular point. As these forces acting on a single plane, so we can consider these forces as concurrent coplanar forces, coplanar concurrent forces, diverging in nature. By following this solid model, we try to understand those force systems. The forces of magnitude T1, T2, T3 which are acting on the yellow plane. These forces are considered as coplanar concurrent force system. On pink plane of this solid model, W1, W2, W3, W4 forces are converging at a particular point. These forces are considered as concurrent coplanar forces. On the same pink plane, W5, W6, W8, W7, W9 forces are acting at a particular point which are diverging in nature. Diverging from a particular point. So we can call the group of these forces as coplanar concurrent forces. As compared to these forces, we can consider these all the forces are coplanar concurrent forces. Coplanar concurrent force system 1 converging at a particular point. Coplanar concurrent force system diverging at a particular point on the same plane. So these all the forces are coplanar in nature. On observing these forces of magnitude S1, S2, S3, these forces also considered as concurrent force system but non-coplanar. S1, S2 forces are related to white plane. S2, S3 forces are related to yellow plane. S1, S3 forces are related to pink plane. As these three forces S1, S2, S3 are related to different planes and diverging from a single point, so we can consider this group of forces S1, S2, S3 considered as non-coplanar concurrent force system which are acting on the perpendicular planes of this solid model. On the white plane of this solid model, we have introduced P1, P2, P3, F1, F2, F3. On pink plane, we have introduced R1 force, R2 force, R3 force. On yellow plane, we have introduced Q1, Q3, Q2 forces. All these forces acting on mutually perpendicular planes of the solid model. Considering all the forces which are acting on this solid model called as non-coplanar force system. The forces which are acting on the white plane of the solid model considered as coplanar force system. The forces which are acting on the pink plane R1, R2, R3 also considered as coplanar force system. The group of forces which are acting on the yellow plane of magnitude Q1, Q2, Q3 also called as coplanar force system. As the line of action of forces of magnitude P1 and P2, P3 are parallel to each other, so that we can consider these group of forces as parallel forces. These forces which are acting on yellow plane is considered as coplanar parallel forces.